You know the man.
President Trump.
That's him, yeah. Listen, he's got a serum for what's wrong with you. And if you could just talk to him, get with him, then everybody could be...
Yes, everybody could be what?
Everyone. Well, everybody could be normal again.
I see. You mean we could be as we were before?
Yeah, I guess so. The way we were.
The way we were. And that's what Trump thinks we want. Is that why he sent you?
He didn't send me.
Silence! Oh, yes. He sent you to offer us something from his world, to change us back to the creatures we were. A trick! A trick to weaken our resolve.
I was almost like you, but he saved me. He brought me back. And he wants us all to go away from here.
You have been damned. Don't you see that? Don't you? Prepare the family.
I don't have it. Have what? The plague.
There we go. Can you hear me, Bray? I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right. There you go, brother. Sorry about the technical difficulties. Here we are. That's all we got going on that opening. Let's dive into the show. And,
wait a minute. Namaste. And may I say a prayer, brother, to start the show?
Yes. Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, oh Lord. Thank you for this chance to kick ass. We are your humble servants. Please give us the power to blow people's mind with our high energy, face melting, guitar driven rock and roll. In your name, we pray. Amen. From
our high caliber power.
From Jack Black,
I would
Huey Finn, God of Rocks.
I would just simply say, I've come here to chew bubblegum and kick some ass. I'm all out of bubblegum.
Can't we get that in our openings too? We have to. That's just the immortal words.
That is immortal words. God bless Rowdy Piper.
Up in heaven.
All right, brother. Here we are. It's another glorious weekend for us to corrupt and destroy and
the woke mind virus.
Minds. Yeah, blow people's minds. So here we are. I actually did have a funny. Why don't you tell us what we're going to be doing today, brother?
Hopefully, I wrote it down. We're going to do the Maga Divide with Nick Fuentes and Tucker versus Mark Lennon, or that's what we call Mark Levin now, because he goes around calling.
You call him Mark Levin. I
whatever. I'll never listen to that guy anymore. Yeah. All right. We'll also do. Then we're also going to do. Piers Morgan is a fag apparently because he can't say the word faggot. We're getting into that. And we're going to do the Winter MAGA Soldier because people are complaining about Pete Hegseth and the Department of War going, we're going to kill the scum, the evil creeps bringing in fentanyl to America. And, of course, you want to do something about Islam, which we don't know what we're talking about, but we'll get to. So those are the four things we're going to try and...
But before we do that, I have something for you because of last week's show. I saw this on Facebook and I thought I would share this. This is for you, brother.
Dormant until you give them a stimuli. Observe. The only way we'll be able to come up with an antidote to PDS is to find patient zero.
J. Trump is now president of the United States.
They're seemingly dormant until you give them a stimuli. Observe.
There you go, brother. Did you catch that?
Yes. So it is true. Trump derangement retardation has taken over large parts of America, unfortunately. Yes.
Well, I mean, that was a comedy, but it was also plenty truthful. I've bumped into more than my fair share of those who have been afflicted with this disease, and you know what, John? Sometimes it seems like it's self-inflicted. Like they just can't stop. Almost like it's some kind of addiction.
Yes, definitely. It becomes a real. Well, I can't say. I mean, I've seen religious people fall for it. You see all swaths. It really is the infection of the media, the fake media, and the lies that they keep telling again and again. And you'll get these ridiculous. It's part of the Hate America Club. That we should be doing it on another show. we have to do a whole show. That clown Ken Burns is out with a so-called special, right? About and it's a 1619 version of the that's nonsense. So we're gonna do we have to do a whole show on that just to set the record straight.
Since you brought him up, John, I listened to an hour and 10 minutes of him talking to Reason.com, which is a libertarian site, and they did a podcast. And John, I have to tell you, I was suspicious because it's Ken Burns, but you are not incorrect at all with your
out and out lies about the historical record. The Revolutionary War had nothing to do with slavery. They do like the Dunmore Proclamation because Earl Dunmore came out and said, "Oh, look, we're gonna we're gonna free the slaves," because of course already all the northern colonies had already revolted and already were taking to be charged. It didn't come up in one of the southern states as all the different legislatures voted to secede. Not one. And so it's a complete lie and fraud. It's a fraud. What it is a fraud. It's a fraud and it's slander. And maybe we should sue him for that. But we'll do a whole episode on the nonsense of that crap.
It took him 10 years to do this special.
Right.
It took him 10 years. 10 years of wasted effort, and
we should debunk it. We should do a whole show on the debunking of that clown fake history. What is this fake history? Just like we got fake history.
I will watch it. And I will review it. I will watch it and I will review it. But in just this interview, I just want to point out that he said one of the things that he mentioned in the interview was that while they were debating the Continental Congress, and he seems to think that because it's called the Continental Congress, that they knew that they were going to take over the whole entire continent.
What a creep! What a creep and a liar!
I mean, we all know that the reason why they call it the Continental Congress has to do with the fact that that's what the British considered all the colonials, and it's because they're over on that continent over there.
Right. They call them the Continental. They call them the Continental, right? Army, right? Because
the Continentals. Yeah, they call them the Continentals. But that was the shortened word. Regardless, what he said was while they were debating in the Continental Congress about making the free white men have property owners being able to have a right to vote, above them, the Pennsylvania Assembly was debating on having. You ready for this, John? Same-sex marriage.
Oh my God! No, and the fact is, in Jefferson's original Declaration of Independence, it had abolished slavery, right? And the only reason why they didn't because 12 of the 13 original colonies voted to abolish it. It's just Georgia did not, and they rather say, you know what, we'll all go together. We will all want to be together, and so that's why it survived the Declaration. And even, but was already begun that it was the world's first anti-slavery movement. The first abolition movement was started, in large part by the Quakers, and so. But it was, all that's missing from that time period. What a fraud! What fake history! What a clown! Right. And we need to expose him as a clown. We need to expose him as a clown in a whole episode. We'll do it. You have a history degree. I got a history degree. We got two more of a history degrees than he does. So we'll do that in another episode.
It's just funny because as he's standing there, and the guy Nick is his first name. I can't name his last name, but he was very patient with him. But towards the end, he was like, "Can you let me finish my sentence? Can you let me?"
Yeah, because he's a clown. He's a clown. All right, let's go. We'll be talking. We'll do all that. Let's go on to the first part.
Okay, so number one. The Maga Divide. Take it away, John.
So, allegedly they're saying a divide in MAGA is blowing up over Tucker Carlson because he gave an interview to Nick Fuentes, who apparently they say is a racist and is anti-Jewish. So now I've listened to a couple hours of Nick Fuente. He's not a racist. The Hodges twins have him on, right? The Hodges twins. I want to vote for the Hodges twins as president. I think it'd be great to have the Hodges twins as president. You can't tell one apart.
No presidents? No presidents?
No, one president. They switch, right? They're over 35. They're twins. You just won't know which one. You can split them up and have one over here, one over there.
Yeah,
and, handling things
overseas, out. We could
right.
just be like Sparta, where they had a king for a war king, and then they had a king.
Or Rome, we had two consuls, right? You had two consuls, right?
Yeah.
Right. So I think they should be president. I love the Hodges twins.
They could arm wrestle to be to see which one's the upper consul and which one's the lower consul.
The day of every day. Who's in charge today, right? But they're geniuses. They're both hysterical, and they would be a great president. So they say he's not a racist. So I'm really having a hard time saying he's racist. Now he says some anti-Jewish things, but they, you know what? It looks like if you go back in history, they've created his anti-Jewism, because that's a lot of anti-Semitism is created by the Ginos, not the religious Jews, right? But the Ginos, the Jews in name only, who are the secular versions. They're the atheists. Who are ethnically Jewish and don't care, who are big time anti-Christians, and big time bigots towards Catholics and Christians.
Same ones, John? Are they the same ones who are usually voting Democrat?
These are the same clowns who voted for Mandami because they believe all Republicans are so evil because they're Christian, and so they would rather will vote for a 12th imaner whose only question is, okay, I have a skyscraper. Who's the first group of people do I throw off the skyscraper? The gays or the Jews? They vote for him rather than these are the secular state of. The problem is, of course, there are a foreign. He's right about a lot of things. Apparently, he's Catholic. Nick Fuentes apparently Catholic. Is Catholic, celibate, doesn't have a girlfriend. He's probably gay. Might be a Fed. Who knows?
He could be a Fed.
Who knows?
I'm actually leaning towards the Fed side of it.
Listen. I listened to him. He's an anti-Trumper, first of all, right?
I haven't listened to him, so I have to. Full disclosure, I have not listened to him.
And he says Donald Trump is a narcissist, and I'm the voice of MAGA. Okay, and I'm the voice of Gen X. He's not the voice of Gen X. The voice of Gen X is probably, is probably Mrs. Kirk's. I forget her first name. Because Charlie Kirk was the voice of Gen X, right? But he's such a narcissist. He thinks he's the voice of Gen X.
When somebody like that, when somebody who's 20 and young and they start saying they're the voice of MAGA or the voice of the generation, usually that means they're not the voice of anything,
right?
Because they're just trying to promote themselves.
He's very glib. He talks very well. Blah blah blah. But like a lot of people who talk a lot, he doesn't really know what he's talking about a lot of ways. But he's a 20-year-old kid. Who gives a crap what he says, right? Who cares? And I'm sure when Tucker had his interview, part of it is Mark Lynn. He didn't push him on his nonsense. Well, because Tucker is our age and he's looking at a 20-year-old kid. He's not going to berate a 20-year-old kid because he's looking at a kid like this kid could be my kid, right? And he's right. And so Tucker was completely appropriate. Still 100% behind Tucker. Tucker is the man. He's all about freedom of speech.
I did watch part of that interview, and I got to say, I thought Tucker was say
it, really? He's a 20-year-old kid.
He's a 20. Listen, John, I got 20-year-old kids who are giving me crap all the time on Facebook.
And you got to be real gentle with them.
And no, I don't. No, you don't. You
got to be real gentle with them.
The real world will not be gentle to you, and you need to. If you're doing something wrong, you got to.
A lot of their fault is their education.
You're doing wrong.
A lot of their fault is just screwing up of the boomers and stuff.
I agree. I have tried to fix that, but after people leave, try to give them critical thinking skills. But after they leave me, I'm only, they're 7-8 years or more of having their critical skills ripped out from them and being pushed into indoctrination. They can only take so much. So he needs to be corrected, John. I do think he needs to be corrected if he's saying stuff.
So wait a minute. So here's the line, and he's right about this. There is a foreign.
Maybe he likes Stalin. Is it true? Tell me if I'm wrong.
I have not heard that, but I have heard other people say that. There's only so many hours of this nonsense I can listen to. They're idiot kids. But other people say that. However, and he also thinks that World War II was started by the British. Okay, he's dumb stuff like that.
Yeah.
Again, stupid. Dumb stuff.
It's like,
but he's right about this.
we caused Japan to attack us. That's the same.
But he's right. But he's right about this. FARA. The foreign agency requires that foreign agents record themselves so that we know. There should be. He's right about, and he's right, and the right that Gen Z is about. Right. They at this point they have Israel fatigue for a really good reason. And part of the reason is because, number one, it's an old time heresy, and number two, these clowns in Israel, these ginos, have more influence in our American Congress than American citizens do. That's complete nonsense. Now, I would make it illegal for any of them, and I would deport anybody. The Somalis and Snakeface up in Michigan, who do the same thing for Somaliland, who think that that's the goal of America, is to pervert American foreign policy for that. Or for the clowns who do it for Israel. They're all a bunch of clowns. Why does anybody have any foreign government or anybody who's representing a foreign government, even if they are so-called American, represent the interests of a foreign government in the American Congress? All of that. Ted Cruz and company should be booted out of the country. We should bring back exiling. I'm the biggest fan of Seneca. The great Roman.
Oh boy.
Exile these clowns, right? So he's right. He's right about that. And listen, at some point, they want Gulf War number 3 on Trump. Gulf War number 3 on Trump. Oh, we got to invade Iran. No, enough with the Gulf Wars. Okay. So there is legitimate now about the heresy, because this cannot be stressed enough. I haven't heard this for 30 years since college. My college degree with the great Dr. Patricia Johnson, right? The Schofield Bible. The Schofield Bible was this nonsense. And to understand the Schofield Bible, you got to understand who it came from. Schofield was a scumbag. He was a scumbag he got up to the Attorney General of Kansas, and then got caught stealing lots of money. He abandons his first wife and then marries a second wife, right? Then he adopts this principle from a tiny area in England, this heresy, and then it infects. And the reason why I'm telling you is because it infects the Baptist Protestants and becomes a heresy. And it's a heresy apparently that Ted Cruz is all into, right? And what it is like, oh, we have to bring back the Zionist state of Israel because there has to be another temple. Now, no, God has spoken, right? So you have to understand the heresy, because theologically they say that there's two churches, and so it's called dispensationalism. The Catholic Church dealt with this years ago, in the first centuries, called dispensationalism. The idea that there's two churches, the idea that Jesus was supposed to save only the Israelites because God's a racist, blah blah blah, and that and it wasn't God's plan to save the entire world, and anybody Jesus' plan isn't to save the entire world. So they believe this nonsense that there's two churches: the church for the Jews and the church for all the Gentiles, right? Nonsense. There's only one church. Jesus Christ fulfilled all the covenants. The Catholic Church figured this out all those years ago. The Catholic Church believes this. The Eastern Orthodox Church believes it. All mainline Protestants believe it. It's only this because of this nitwit Schofield who has to believe in two churches because two wives. And I really have. One of my lines is that your sin becomes your theology, your sin becomes your philosophy. Jesus Christ was came on to save all mankind, and it is a heresy to believe in because the temple was torn down. That was his point about it. He will raise the temple in 3 days. He did. It's his temple. He is the temple. You don't need another temple. You don't need a third temple. Blah blah blah. It's all a bunch of freaking. You don't need a state of Israel because it's a secular state of Israel. My point about this is the secular state of Israel is going to is part of the problem. They are the evil ones that have infected America. This evil mind virus. They are discriminating against Christians in Bethlehem. They are discriminating against Islam. It's bound to fail because it's not even a religious Jewish state. It's a secular state. They are having the same problems as all the blue states. And why are we tying ourselves to this nonsense? It is nonsense. It is a heresy. And to that degree, Nick Fuentes and Tucker are right. And Greenberg, the great guy down in Brazil, are right. And there is a divide. It's called fatigue. And American Gen Z is like, enough already. What happens to America first? Why aren't we doing America first? We should be doing America first and focusing on American problems and not foreign wars and foreign companies. And to that, they're right. So, good old Mark Lenin, who's going around calling people all kinds of names, is now become a Stalinist and is denouncing people, having show trials, is too much of a coward to debate anybody about this because he doesn't know anything about it, and is causing a divide. But really, listen, America's moved on, and Trump, the more he focuses on this stuff, it gets away from the core MAGA responsibilities is a problem. And so go ahead. You say that he has to be corrected. Go ahead, make the counter argument. Go ahead.
Well, I think you got. I mean, I think I already said he needs to be corrected because that's how you educate somebody. That's how you educate them on what they're doing.
You say that Israel is the number one ally of America. Go ahead, make the argument.
I would say first off, I'm willing to call into question Great Britain's commitment as our number one ally. I'm willing to call that into question because of the nonsense that's been going on, which we will be talking about in a little bit. That has been going on there for the last couple of decades. They're shooting themselves in the foot. There is a movement there to fix it, but I don't know if it's going to be successful. Having said that, I do think that, if you look at geopolitics and you look at the situation, America is not doing the bidding of Israel. Israel is doing our bidding. They are coming and asking for help on certain issues, yes, but we're giving them that help on our terms. Listen, Trump used them, and I'll say this over and over again, Trump used Israel to deal with the nuclear threat of Iran. And the world is a safer place without Iran having a nuke and guaranteeing at least 5 to 10 years when they're not going to be able to put together that nuke program. He did it. He's, I trust in one of the things that with this MAGA divide, people are talking about how Trump is doing this and that wrong. I trust Trump. And we elected him because we trusted him not to get us into foreign wars. But that doesn't mean he can't use weapons of war to level the playing field, which is, again, we'll talk about when we get to the last segment. But he is using it. He's also using, though, the places where he can't or he would be unwilling to use American forces. He has surrogates like Israel. Israel's been knocking down the Houthis. They've been knocking down the Iran. They took out all the Iranian systems so that when American planes are flying over it, I know we're levels above their technology when it comes to our stealth capabilities, but still, when we flew over it, they had no idea why, because Israel cleared the path and took out a lot of those things. But the only reason why they were able to do that, John, the only reason is because Trump gave them the go-ahead to do it. And then he went in there, and he's like a six level chess player, right? Like he's got six, like what is it that Spock was playing, like a 3D chess.
3D chess. He's at six. He's at the sixth dimensional level.
Chess level, yeah. So he's like,
he's not throwing 3D Vulcan chess. He's
playing.
Give
them 21 days. I'm going to give them 21 days just to comply. And then the next day he bombs the crap out of their facilities. I mean, that's Trump. That's totally Trump. I mean, like he played with their mind and he got them to do. He did what he needed to do. And when you get right down to it, if you look at the entire region of the Middle East, in that region, there's only one country that is a representative government that even has Jews, but it's also got Arabs and it's got Christians in the government. They're not; those two are not majority seekers. They're not going to have the majority, but they still have a say. They still have their rights. They pattern themselves more after Western civilization than all those other. I mean, we're making friends. We're letting the Qatar work a base in Minnesota. I think it's Minnesota.
No, we're bringing their pilots here because the only way to. But that's an American thing. It's the only way to teach the rest of the world is not American. And the only way to teach people how to be fighter pilots is to bring them out of their worldview, their big base world, to America.
The same base is going to be hosting Filipinos. It's going to be, I think some Singaporeans. And, I get it. I'm on board with it. You don't have to convince me. I'm just pointing out that, we're letting these other people come in.
James, how many Israelis have died next to Americans fighting in our wars?
Well, I would say a bunch of them put on their
They're
lives on the
another
line when
fake
they're flying
ally.
over Iran.
They're another fake ally like
Iran,
Japan
taking
and Germany.
shots.
Fake allies.
Shots, but they were taking shots from the
Taiwan,
Iranians,
fake
from the
ally.
Houthis. They were taking shots from the land-based missiles that they
No,
took out.
we're
They
taking
put
the
their lives.
shots.
No, they put their lives on the line too when they went into Iran.
No,
That's gutsy.
And they are right about this. Even the CIA says that the trade towers happened because of the wars, because Gulf War, Gulf Two. Even that's their assessment. Even Osama bin Laden had said that. And with all due respect, you can't say anything because I just said with all due respect, it is the American. Why are American destroyers burning holes in the Red Sea and off the coast of North Africa? And for the Europeans. For the Europeans, so the trade goes by for the Europeans and for Israel. Yeah, listen, Der Yudin. I'm a big fan of Der Yudin. I'm always going to be a fan of Bibi because he's best friends with our uncle. So I'm always pro Bibi. My first girlfriend was Der Yudin. I don't want to drop the hard J.
That's my line. That's my line.
No, it's my line. No, my first girlfriend was Der Yudin. We grew up in we did a lot growing up in a Jewish neighborhood. Israel.
I said that last time.
Uzi Gali is got. You got the picture.
I was throwing snowballs with her against the neighbors who were attacking us. She was my wing lady. She was making the snowballs that I was standing up to throw.
Right.
My compatriot.
Right.
John,
nobody.
Okay,
we're all pro unit
for us. I think it's okay for us to be, keeping the sea lanes open for two reasons. First off, if the oil coming out of the Mideast can't get to Europe, which I know they're the biggest buyers
of, it's going to China too, though. It's going to China too.
Yeah, but that's also going over the pipelines that are connecting, and a lot more coming from Russia. But if that oil is not able to go to the Europeans, it's going to raise the price of oil and then gas, and we're going down to $2 a gallon. Trump's going to give us $2 a gallon before the end of the end of January next year. So that's one reason. That second reason is if we don't do it, that leaves a giant void for the communist Chinese to do it, and they are building their navy to do it. They already got their third carrier, which I know is a useless pile of garbage, but it's still a third carrier, and they got a huge fleet of ships that all they're looking for is an excuse to go out there and replace America. And then once that's happening, then China's going to have a lot more political power over our neighbors. We need to be present in the world. I know MAGA doesn't want that necessarily. And they don't want us to, I'm not saying we be the policeman, but we need to be, you ready for this? The big stick, Teddy Roosevelt. We need to have the big stick. We'll talk softly or not if we're Trump and tell them what to do. They'll pay their 5%. NATO will pay their 5%. But we got the big stick. We got the big stick. And we need to exercise. We need to show it off. Look at my big stick. You see my big stick? No Tubans here, John. You see my big stick?
All right. Stop being a fag.
Oh, you did it. Now we're into that one. Okay. Since you said that, brother, we might as well go into that.
Piers, go ahead, do it.
Piers Morgan
is a fag.
Piers Morgan. No, I didn't say that. He did. Piers Morgan and Tucker Carlson had an interview. Tucker Carlson, I think Tucker hosted him and his compound, and so here it is.
Describes the man who beat her up, sent her to the hospital as a quote. She's arrested and convicted of a hate crime. The guy who beat her up is not arrested or convicted. By the way, you're allowed to be.
Just so in case you missed it, the girl got arrested for using a bad word, and she was getting beat up. So the person who was beating her up got to walk away. That's what he's describing for those of you You probably can't hear it because of the stupid music in the background that they played. But that's what's going on, and you can guess what the word is. John, what's the word?
Faggot.
Homophobic if you want in a free country. You can have any view you want. But no, because she used the word she's arrested, and the guy who punched her in the face was not. That story tells you everything.
Well, I don't know that story.
Would you say the word on camera?
No.
Why?
Because
You don't want to get arrested, do you?
doesn't want to be arrested.
Because it's so harmful to people?
Actually, my whole issue with the whole trans debate, for example, is you don't need to say derogatory stuff about trans people to make the point that women's rights should be protected.
Well, I agree.
So what? I don't believe.
No, but it's a magic word.
I don't believe in needlessly sneering.
Well, I'm not smearing anybody. I just think.
But what would you use that word? Yeah,
I just did.
But would yeah, but why?
And I'm using it because you're not allowed to. Because you're
allowed to.
Go ahead. This chick just got arrested for it and convicted. They're making me want to say that because it's so outrageous that you would arrest someone for a word.
I agree.
Well, then help me now. Let's have a moment of self-liberation.
I think you're
okay?
beyond help.
Hold my hand. Hold my hand. We're gonna say together. You ready?
No,
hold in my hand,
Do you
brother.
say gay and
Huh?
Do you say gay and
I wouldn't use the R word.
She texts and.
All right, so that's
Come on, I'll hold your hand, brother. Come on, be gay. Come on.
I'll pass.
Let's be gay. Come on.
Hard pass.
Look, brother. I got my rainbow rosary, so
Does that give you clearance to?
I can say anything I want, right? I do have my rainbow rosary. I also have look, so I can outdo all the other Catholics. You know, when we're talking about stuff at church. Yeah, I got my Christmas one too. See, it's green, red, right? So I go, "Do you have your Christmas rosary?" And they go, "Oh no." I go, well, you just don't believe hard enough, right?
God loves us all, brother. God loves us all. Good
Right, and I can't say the truth. I can't say I don't know the fake science that they have on this, where they're all gay right now, and only 6% of us, or all of us gay, or we're only gay 6%. I forget the fake science they have for it. But his point being is it's a huge point, and it's where we're headed, unfortunately, because we were on this 30 years ago or 20 years ago when we were talking about how England is not America and how there are certain things you can't say. For example,
they have no constitutional foundations, and it's all
they don't have a written constitution. So
Judge said what?
With all due respect to Mark Stein, I'm gonna get all Constitution on you. I'm gonna wave that Constitution right in your face. They don't have a written Constitution, and so they were sliding down this way back when King Charles decided he wanted to be a coochie cooch, either was it a dildo or a
you mean Charles I?
Charles I wanted to be up his mistress's cooch, who's now Queen Kamala Queen. What was it he wanted to be? Or a tampon? He wanted to be a tampon, right? So that was leaked. That statement. So it was illegal. You can say anything about it. And that you had clowns, these British clowns coming over here. Remember there was that Katie girl with all the unfortunate plastic surgery. Bad mouthing America and go, wait a minute, you don't even have freedom of speech in your country. You can't say that your nitwit king wants to be a douche up his mistresses who by the way killed Diana. You definitely can't say that.
Yeah.
You can't say that at all. And that's how the country's going. But it's even getting worse because now there's even legislation where they're going to be removing the right to a jury trial. Now, I'm a defense attorney, and we have this problem in America too. I've actually had to have the jury trial for the use of the N-word. Again, complete crap that then bumps up whatever the underlying charge is up one whole degree, which is insane, right? And I literally have to have a jury trial over this nonsense because we have to realize we are America and we are not Europe. And even though they talk like us, and even though they look like us, and even though we're quote Western, no, we're not. We are something completely different. We are something completely different. And this is the way they're going. You can't say certain things. And of course, Piers is a fag because he doesn't want to go to jail. I completely can understand, but in America, and we need to get back to this too, because we have this puritanical cancel culture from the woke creep left that used to try and say things. You're not allowed to say that anymore. Now, wait a minute. It's a free country. I'll say any damn thing I want. Screw you.
Use the word puritanical. They would say to you that you're just trying to be like a Puritan. But listen, I got a line.
They're the Puritans.
Reagan,
They're the Puritans, and they're the
Reagan,
Inquisitionists.
Reagan talked about this when he was talking about the Soviets, and he would say there's this Soviet and this American, and they were arguing over which system was better. And the American says, right now, if I wanted to, I could go down to the White House, I could go into the president's office, and I could bang on his desk and say, Mr. President, I disagree with everything you've said, and I think you're wrong. And the Soviets said, well, I can do that too. There's no one's going to stop me if I go down there to the White House, bang on the president's desk and say, Mr. President, everything you're doing is wrong.
Right. And that's a great joke. And it's so different. But that's the way England is right now. They have women, they have women in jail for a tweet. They have a guy that they're prosecuting because he said prayers in a house near an abortion area where they're whacking and killing babies. He didn't say anything. He just did prayers in the sanctity of his own house. And they're prosecuting that guy. And this is the future.
My point was, though, that even the Soviets knew that America had that level of freedom, and these countries don't because they're non-America, is getting to your point.
Well, you bring up this point that now they can, because we did this, and now they can prosecute us.
Right. Well, I did say that on our before show. I said they're going to try to come after us, and as I said to John, then I'll say now, Americans don't bow to potentates, no matter who they think they are, whether they're an elected potentate in some other jurisdiction or not. We're Americans. We don't bow to anybody's rules. That's the way it is. So we're protected by our rights as citizens of the United States. And as long as we have a president in the White House who's going to defend us, then we're good. Even John, he's even doing that with like Facebook and Twitter, X and other social media sites, because he said to those leaders, he said, listen, you got to be more American. If you're more American and you're acting more American, then when they try to go after you, I will defend you. Trump said, I will protect you. I will fight back because you're an American company. But you have to act like you're an American. And that means,
freedom of speech. Now, I have a solution too.
The rules.
I have a solution too. Is not only should Trump take the western end of Canada, not the creeps. After the Revolutionary War, all the creeps moved right north of the border of New York in that Oregon area. We don't want those clowns, right? They're the clowns destroying Canada. We want the western parts that are much more like our Midwest because they were settled by our Midwest. So they're American, really. They just act Canadian, but they're not. They speak Canadian-like, but they're not really Canadian. And that's those four states we can do it. Not only should we invade Canada and take over those four, but we need to invade England and start and invade them and impose. We need to impose our American system on the English. That's what we need to do. That's what we got to do.
The English, the British, the French, many of those Western countries have shot themselves in the foot because they're incredibly stupid immigration policies, which have let the flood of Muslims into their countries, which have completely changed the demographics. And then you got someplace like Poland, John, which has said, no, we don't want immigrants. They are doing, if you see what's going on in Poland right now, their economy is skyrocketing. The people feel safe there. They have, they're rearming themselves to the point where they're like, Europe, we don't need Europe. We're going to protect ourselves. And, them and Finland, which is, joined NATO, but Finland's stepping up too because they recognize that they can't depend on those Western Europeans because they've destroyed themselves. The Netherlands are going through all kinds of, protests. France, Paris is, I watched this guy, Nick Shelley. He walked through Paris. He's right underneath the Eiffel Tower. And people are pickpocketing and taking their stuff. And it's just, there's entire sections of Paris that are Muslim enclaves. The same with Great Britain. They're Muslim enclaves. And we're going, you know what, John, for saying that women can't travel through those areas. And if they do, and they're not wearing some type of head covering, they'll be attacked. Even if they are, they'll be attacked if they're clearly not Muslim or from that area. They'll be attacked and be pestered. And just for saying that, John, we would get censored in those countries. Just for saying that, they would. I wouldn't be surprised if one of them tried to show up at the door.
Censored, we'll get charged.
To arrest us. Yeah,
you get charged.
Well,
that's what the British are doing. First, they knock on your door and they investigate you, and they intimidate you with their fake police, and then they charge you. And it's a listen. We have it in America too. It's called ethnic intimidation nonsense, where they can bump up your. I've had the jury trial where they bump up the grading of the underlying charge by one whole level, so that they can turn things into felonies, because you said a word. It's a word that somebody doesn't like. Well, too bad. This is America. It's America, and if you don't like it, tough. Get out. There's a place. You're free. You're free to leave. Get out. It's a free country. I'll say what I want, and I'll go where I want. And we need to reestablish America. And so and if they don't like it, listen, Somaliland, Snake Face up there, in Michigan, they just got caught for $1 billion for stealing $1 billion. And this is the thing, we got to get back to MAGA first. Why aren't they being arrested, right? Just because they're foreigners? Arrest all of them. But before that, how come you didn't arrest any of the clowns you found out that were stealing money from USAID? USAID was made to help little orphanages in Africa. So why is Politico walking around and not have to pay back that $10 million they took? How come they aren't arrested and in jail? Why isn't that scumbag Bill Kristol, that scumbag from that fake, that neocon scumbag? How come he's locked up for $2 million? Now listen, there might be, this is allegedly, right? There might be, an orphanage in Africa somewhere that says Bill Kristol's name on it. In which case, it makes perfect sense that he has $2 million of U.S. taxpayer money. And there might be one that says Politico on it. In which case, it makes perfect sense. But how come they aren't locked up in jail? And this is the thing that Kash Patel is a clown. He needs to be replaced because he hasn't locked up those people. They need to be locked up. Same thing with $1 billion of U.S. taxpayer money that went out in Somaliland for fake disabilities that Tim Walsh did nothing about, as a governor. So when are we going to start seeing an address? This is what MAGA is supposed to be doing, locking up the creeps and the criminals, because the entire Democratic Party has been funded by this nonsense and kickback money for by this nonsense. The entire aristocrat class party that have taken over the media, that have destroyed Hollywood, that have destroyed American media and American culture, have been funded by these crapheads, and they need to be put in jail. That's what MAGA should be doing. That's what Trump should be doing, and not be focusing on this on nonsense, on whatever the concerns of foreign states might be. Enough. Get back to work.
Well, I think that's. I do think that we do have. We should be getting some kind of investigation on that. I mean, we know what's going on with the USA aid. You're right about that, and we shouldn't have these. I mean, John, there's always the whole thing. No one's above the law, right? I guess unless you're a Democrat who's used US aid to fill their pockets. And I do think, the MAGA divide, and by the way, we don't use the word civil war like many people out there because we're not posers. We don't need to make up something for clicks.
Whoa, James. I thought our whole purpose was clicks.
No.
Eventually you told me we're going to make money.
Our material is genuine. No, our material is genuine, and we will make money off of it. But
entire life. Can we ever get rich?
Well, no, you didn't take the check from APAC. That's not my fault. You chose not to take the check.
Good one, brother. Good one.
I mean, that's not on me. That's on you. But we all things considered, when you get right down to it, there is no divide. There's the people who claim that they were MAGA because they wanted to be on the team that was winning. But then there's the people who are I would say, to steal Stan Lee's line, the true believers who believe in America first. And, they're not trying to get clickbait and saying, oh, I disagree on this. When they're not trying to appease the left because I agree on this, but I can disagree on that. Listen, we hired Trump for a reason. You got to look at this the same way that he's looking at it. The American people hired Trump for a reason. He's going to fulfill his end of the bargain. And if he doesn't, then he'll face the consequences of that by having people dislike him. But he is doing more. He's done more in the 11 months that he's been president, then, or 10 months that he's been president, than many presidents in the modern era have done their entire 8 years in office. I can't think of one president who has rolled back the tide. I would say this: he really needs to start codifying, with 1 year left on this Congress, he needs to start codifying his executive orders. He needs to start getting them so that the next person coming in can't change them. They need to be like, let's do something about that auto pen. Let's get rid of the auto pen. Let's get some of those executive orders, put it in gold and say, hey, you are not allowed to have biological men in women's sports. We are going to have, you are not going to be allowed to have criminal illegals in our countries. They will be deported. You will not be able to stop the federal government from taking illegals out of the country. He needs to really get this stuff in the books and codified as well. I know it's already in the books that you can't stop, the federal government can't be stopped by the states, but we need to come up with a mechanism that when they do this, we're not starting a civil war. We're taking away something from them, like money or some other put it in Congress. If a state is unwilling to match the supremacy clause, then they lose 50% of all federal funding across the board, and that's on them. That's on the state. Then, they have to comply to the supremacy clause. I know you have problems with the supremacy clause, bro. You've mentioned that before, but that can be codified. We could codify that too, put it into law. So we have 15.
Are we good? Are we doing the Winter Magus soldier?
Winter Magus soldier.
So basically,
well, you need to find what that is, because I'm not even sure what that is.
So Pete Hegseth, apparently it was leaked to the Washington Post that Pete Hegseth said, so on one of these killings, this is allegedly the nonsense that they're going, if they try and impeach Trump because we lose the Congress, this would probably be the number one thing on the list, because so one of the 22 narco boats filled with fentanyl to kill American children that they Hellfire missiled had 2 survivors, and they're trying to say that Pete Hegseth, it was radio back, what should we do about the 2 survivors in the water? And that Pete Hegseth said, kill them all, which I'm okay with. If that's what he said, there's no treaty we have with them, and America isn't part of Hague or any treaty, and for a good reason, because there's no moral equivalency between America, the United States of America, and the rest of the world. Oh, you're a bunch of hypocrites. No, you're a bunch of assholes. You don't know what you're talking about, right? America is the only country that is really moral, because America is the only country that actually has a constitution, a democracy, and have lived up to it over the last 200 years. Well, what about all the... Yeah. Just because you have some problems, you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, you idiot. You hate America, creeps. Shut up. And this is war, right? Now, first of all, does President Trump have absolute power? First of all, the number one thing about that's why we call it the Winter MAGA soldiers, because they're trying to say that just like in the Revolutionary War, there was a lot of soldiers who were just they were just summertime patriots. They weren't going to stick at Valley Forge. They were going to stick through the winter and through all the bad times. Meaning when America was winning, they were on board. But when America was losing at Valley Forge, they were all running away. And that's what these people are, right? First of all, the idea of the USS Ford down in the Caribbean is exactly where the American military is supposed to be, doing things to protect America. For example, 100,000 kids.
Those are potatoes on there. Those are giant potatoes.
They're just fishing, right?
Those are not. They're just fishing. I don't see any fishing rods, but I'm sure those are just giant, like bombs that they're going to drop.
Those fish move at 40 miles and 40 knots. 40 knots. I mean, they're really fast, right?
And John, I am positive that those are not American missiles blowing up those boats. That those bombs that they're carrying to kill the fish are probably discharging because they don't know how to handle them.
What proof do we have? What proof that America had any involvement in this, right?
Yeah, I mean, just because we had a camera on them doesn't mean anything.
Just because they blow up, we believe in combustion. Right.
Safety first.
Right. So
Listen, honestly, we can mock the media if they can mock us by saying that it's okay to allow tons of drugs being brought into our country. I just posted about this. We've lost more Americans since 2019. We've lost more Americans since 2019 than we did during the Civil War or during the Second World War. So think about it, John. More Americans have died not because of the Japanese or because of the Germans in World War II, but because of the drugs being brought over here. And we've had 27 million. I'm sorry, 27 million people have been infected with the addiction to drugs in that time period.
And it's the worst scourge. It is horrific.
It is.
And how does it happen? How does it happen?
27 million casualties. You should look at them as casualties.
And how does it happen? Who has allowed this war on the American middle class? Who? The aristocrat class, right? The Republicans and the Democrats, right? Both of them, because they hate us. Listen, if they could, they would shoot us all in the throat like Charlie Kirk. If they could get us all into one body, that's why they went after Trump. They would shoot us in the head like they tried to do to him. They hate us. They detest us. And there's something mentally wrong with these creeps. So the American military is doing exactly what it's supposed to do.
Yes, but the American middle class, which is the people who have been targeted by these drugs, the American middle class must be weak in order for them to have control. In order for the Democrats to grab their power, like we talked about last week, and to maintain their power, they must weaken the middle class and take away from us. Instead of helping us, they got to subtract from us and hurt us. And by doing that, they can maintain control, indoctrinate the kids in the colleges, and make sure that they're dumbed down so that they can't have critical thinking skills. And therefore, they can do the Democrats can do whatever they want. They can filter as much money from the system as they want from USAID. They can do it. They can get all those people giving them money, filling their pockets. Meanwhile, you and I, John, we don't have a pot to piss in, as the old man would say.
Yeah, so they're going to try and allege that he gave an order to kill them. So what? Too bad. This is war. You declared war on America by importing a bomb, by trying to bomb America. So if you die, oh well, that's the occupational hazard that comes along with getting in a high-speed boat filled with fentanyl. Okay, don't do it. And the more we kill now, it's Baldini's rule of force. The more force you use, the faster you use it, the less you have to use over time. It's just a truism. Something I learned back in the jail all those days ago, right? Sometimes only force answers it. And there's a long history of Americans, and again, there's no equivalency to an American military. For example, in World War II, in Japan, it's the American tradition to try and save. That's why we have the Red Cross, right? And we have medics. It's to save the enemy soldiers. But there are exceptions to that. For example, in World War II, in Germany, against Germany, we would try and save the Germans, right? And so I think we save, so the battle statistics, like in any particular battle, in Europe, there's like a 5% casualty rate, right? Including with that, because the Americans, try and save the Germans, and allegedly the Germans try to save the Americans. Anyway, not so with Japan. Why? Well, because Japan was a bunch of fanatic nut jobs, and they would murder, if you surrendered, they would murder you. Because of their bullcrap, Bushido code, you surrendered, right? So for example, in Guadalcanal, when the first time America actually won against the Japanese in the Battle of Guadalcanal on Bloody Ridge, the American medics, of course, went through and tried to save the Japanese troops. And what the Japanese troops? Well, they were hiding with grenades. They blew up the American medics. They killed another 30 Americans. So after that, the war became, okay, that's what you want to do, you scum. Then here's what we'll do. We'll play that game. And that's why when you have Tara, the Battle of Tara, you have 3,000 American Marines taking it from 3,000 Japanese Marines, and you have like 5 Japanese getting off. You have 99% of casualties, and this is how nuts it is. But American military, again, because there's no equivalency to American, because we're the only just people in the entire world. Sorry, you creeps who hate America. That's just a fact. We were trying to save them, even in Okinawa, and like even while the Japanese scum military were lying to the Okinawan people, telling them the Americans were going to rape you, we were still using bullhorns, saving as many as we can, even though 1,000 Okinawan women threw themselves off the cliffs or threw their babies off the cliffs, and to the horror of the Americans as they were trying to save them. So while we're in the beginning stages of this war, I don't see them saving any Americans. So they get, it's called, if you want to use game theory, tit for tat, they get the same as they've done to us. That none of them are trying to save any Americans. When they start trying to save Americans, maybe we can talk about us trying to save them. But otherwise, hey, pro tip: don't get in a boat that's really fast moving towards America.
Loaded with bombs. Loaded with bombs.
Loaded with ways to kill America. This is what, so for all those MAGA winter soldiers out there, now, this is what we hired him for. This is what we want. I love your phrase. Well, I hired him. This is what he's doing. This is exactly what Trump should be doing. And I can't be any happier that because the people who say that don't have to deal with the consequences. Don't have to do it. The scumbags in Wall Street Journal and the aristocrat class in America sold out America by putting all their jobs over there, and all the American middle class, they're so broken down, they can't make any money, they can't be fathers, they can't have a family, they can't buy a house and stuff because of the creeps, because of the economic disasters they've caused. And what do? They resort to drugs, and then they lock you up and they destroy you that way. It's a win-win for them. They use the criminal justice system to call you a criminal when you're not, and destroy you that way. So enough. This is exactly what they're supposed to do. And listen, in 20 years, this year alone, I've had 2 marijuana dealers, two meth dealers, and 1 crack cocaine dealer. Right? No, what I've never meth dealer. Why? Because they're okay with it. The scumbag Republicans, the scumbag Democrats are okay with the killing of the American middle class because we're their competition. They hate us, and so that's what I got to say about that.
Well, I mean, I just over the years I've had a few students who passed away from drugs, overdoses, and it's never good, and I've had a few students who have been addicted and struggled to get themselves back on track. So this is a cancer that's on America, and the Democrats and those Republicans who are against it have to reconcile that this reality. Is it okay to have the cancer if they're so against what Trump is doing? Then get a bill passed. Shut the hell up about bitching about Trump and get a bill passed that says prosecute the Venezuelan government and block all ships, large, small, all whatever it may be, from coming into America, and prosecute that to the point of dropping bombs on the ports or whatever, but don't put one American soldier on the ground. You can pass that. If you can write rules, if the Congress can write rules where they're giving gay and lesbian dance parties in Somalia or wherever, and they're putting the pride flag everywhere, if they can write rules that can do that, they can write a rule like I just described that shuts down drugs from coming into the country. And by the way, this isn't just Venezuela. We're not just talking Venezuela. The Chinese are selling precursors for these drugs that are being made in Mexico and being shipped across the border. And that is not going away. That is still going to be there. So while you're writing that bill, why don't you write a bill that prevents all Chinese shipping from entering Mexico, and any ship that has Mexican or Chinese fentanyl precursors is blown out of the water. There you go, John. I've just solved the Rand Paul's and the Massey's issue with Trump's interdiction of the Venezuelan boats. I just solved their problem. They just have to man up and say, you know what? I don't morally disagree with what the president is doing.
Well, they do morally disagree. That's the problem. They're fake. Well, that's why they're the fake. People keep saying Rand Paul
this. Fine. That's fine.
They're fake Americans.
But they're putting it out there that they morally disagree with bombing it, but they also morally disagree with people using drugs, right? So I morally disagree with the way the president is doing it, but I don't disagree with the intention of stopping it. So I'm going to sponsor a bill in the Senate, blank, 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 blank. But they won't do it.
The woke right is just as bad as the woke left, and this is how you know he's not for America, and he's how you know he's one of these aristocrat Nepo babies.
I don't think what Rand Paul is woke right, nor do I think Tom Massey is.
Yes, they are.
They are. Nope. I think it's even worse, John. I think they're John McCain 2.0. That's what I think they are. Self-aggrandizing bullies who want to make everyone kowtow to them. They want to make
Nepo babies,
look like a
Nepo babies,
moderate.
Nepo babies.
They want to make themselves look like a moderate, when in actuality, all they want is, look at me, I'm here.
And it's a scam. Give me money.
The camera.
It's a scam.
The camera. Bring that camera over here so I can talk to it. That's what they are.
It's a scam for raising money.
They're not. And that's also, yes, to raise money. To raise money for their own pockets. You know, really, what can you say? Are they different than Gavin Newsom? I mean, are they different? I mean, that's what Gavin Newsom does. Anyway, brother, we are at a hard break, aren't we?
Well, wait. You have a few more minutes because you wanted to talk about something else.
Yeah, it's all right. We can wait.
Okay.
We can wait. Yeah, we can. Right. We can do it next time. We have a hard break, and yeah. There we go. Okay. Any final words, bro? Hey, brother, it's all good.
Oh no. It's all good.
Because God loves you, and you don't forget it. No matter what you are, God loves you. All right. See you all next week.
You know the man.
President Trump.
That's him, yeah. Listen, he's got a serum for what's wrong with you. And if you could just talk to him, get with him, then everybody could be...
Yes, everybody could be what?
Everyone. Well, everybody could be normal again.
I see. You mean we could be as we were before?
Yeah, I guess so. The way we were.
The way we were. And that's what Trump thinks we want. Is that why he sent you?
He didn't send me.
Silence! Oh, yes. He sent you to offer us something from his world, to change us back to the creatures we were. A trick! A trick to weaken our resolve.
I was almost like you, but he saved me. He brought me back. And he wants us all to go away from here.
You have been damned. Don't you see that? Don't you?
Prepare the family.